So, guys, you guys are geniuses and you know everything. This has been known. You guys are fucking smart in this chat. And guys, I need some help. I have been racking my brain for the last couple weeks trying to figure out the Race to World first comp. And I don't know. I don't know anything. I don't know what's good. I don't know what's bad. And I need the help of my chat. Okay? I need you all to band together and you guys have to help me make the absolute best raid comp that we can use in this raid. Okay, so this sheet that we're looking at already is just a convenient place that has all of the current like classes. Sorry, it's kind of bright. I'll make it smaller so you don't get blinded. I don't want to go dark mode because dark mode makes all of the classes look stupid. And I would rather you guys be a little blinded and then just do this. Anyway, so the reason I've ever used this sheet is it is a... it's just showing what required raid buffs in your raid have progressed throughout the expansion. So if you care, this is how many required raid spots were needed for raid buffs in BFA, and then it added 1 in Shadowlands, and then it added 5 in Dragonflight, and the War Within has removed 1 required raid spot by just removing Red Ore, basically, and making it not just enhanced, but all of Shaman that bring the buff. All right, so what you guys are gonna do is we're gonna go all the way over here to the right. Actually, we're probably gonna go down. And you guys are going to help me make a raid comp. Starting from, and let me copy and paste this thing up here. I don't really know what's the best way to do this when you guys want to add something. Because it doesn't necessarily need to be a healers first or tanks first, right? Because a decision you make in DPS may be, right? Like if you pick a Havoc DH, for example, then maybe you don't need a Vengeance, right? Because you already have the Havoc buff. So this can go in any order you guys want. You can add healers at any point. You can add tanks at any point. I'm just going to see where you guys are landing in the chat, and I'm going to try to come to a consensus off. We're not doing this as a meme, by the way. I want you guys to actually try. We're going to see how right you get. And also, we will be updating this list going into Heroic Week and leaving Heroic Week. So we will do 2 updates to this based on changes that happen and what if any changes happen that you think might alter it. We'll let you guys change it if you want. But will you tell us how right we get? Well, you're going to see how right we get, right? Because right after you do the last update, the next day is going to happen and we're going to be in whatever comp you think. So, let me check Dorky's tank tier list before we start. Ooh, that might be a mistake, right? Because, like, think, how high on the totem pole do you think tanks are as far as bringing the best tank versus bringing a raid buff that lets you not bring the worst DPS, right? Maybe a lot of you guys are like, they're at the bottom of the totem pole. You just play whatever raid buffs we need. That's not always true. Sometimes tanks are actually so good that you bring them even though you already have those buffs, right? Okay, so chat, where would you guys like to start? There's a couple of easy ones, right? There's some raid buffs that you need just to get it out of the way that can only be 1 roll, for example, right? So, chat, where would you guys like to start? No, we're not 4 mages, 4 augs. We are doing literally 1 spec in class at a time. All right? So 1 mage. I'm seeing a lot of mage, arcane mage. Okay, you guys want 1 arcane mage. Okay, so we'll put that. I usually like having melee near the top of the DPS and range at the bottom. So I'll just go ahead and put arcane mage here. So chat, are you guys happy with starting with what? Actually, do we even need to put the spec? I feel like it doesn't matter because if it's a different spec, they can swap specs. There's nothing wrong with that. Let's just say mage, right? So you guys want a mage. Okay, so you guys want a mage. Is there another class that you guys want before we go on? It can be healer, tank, anything. I'm trying to judge. When it gets harder to figure out, I will do polls. Seeing a lot of locks, seeing a lot of warlocks. Okay, so you guys want 1 warlock to start out. 2 warlocks? You want to do 2 warlocks even after you have the 1 raid buff before you even see how the rest of your comp works out? That's not the right way to problem solve, right? I'll help you out a little bit there. That's wrong. You don't want to do that. Even if you thought you would run 4 mages, 4 rogues, 4 druids, whatever, like you wouldn't do that until you're doing the most important thing every time, right? All right, so let's see where chat is going here. Okay, so I see a lot of people already advocating for like shaman and druid, but are you guys really confident right now in this list you know which spec of shaman is going to be your raid buff, which spec of druid is going to be before you even see like the process of elimination, kind of? That'd be crazy. I wouldn't know if you're doing this realistically. Okay, I'm seeing a lot. Okay, so you guys are really undecided even. Can I help you guys out a little bit? There's not that many more super obvious ones, but there are a couple, and I feel like you guys are kind of all over the place right now. Okay, it's obviously Hunter, right? Hunter can only be DPS. You need a Hunter, right? So put a hunter in there. All right. Same with rogue. Exactly right. All right, so you got a rogue. Okay, Max, please zoom in on sheet. Okay, a little bit. A little bit of zoom in. A little bit of zoom in right there. Oh, shit. Can I zoom this right without it? Oh, no. Let's do one more thing out. That's right where it was. All good. We're keeping it there. If melee's on top, no survival confirmed. Hunter can be any of the specs. It doesn't matter. 2 of the 3 of them are ranged. We'll put it in the range spot. Seeing Shadow Priest. Aug. You guys are saying Aug Evoker. Okay. Is chat happy with Aug? Yes or no? You guys happy to add 1 Aug? 2 Augs. Interesting. You guys want to add 2 Augs before you see the rest of the comp rather than the one you need for... Well, I guess, do you even really need an Aug for raid buff? Let's see. Their raid buff has asked 2 Augs. 2 Augs. All right, I'm pulling it. Sorry, you guys can't. I'm not asking you whether you want 2 Augs at the end of the raid comp or not. I'm asking how many you want right now before we figure out the rest of the raid comp. All right, you have 2 responses. If there's a poll in chat. Do you guys want 1 or 2 right now? All right, just 1. All right. Do I need to specify Aug? Because, I mean, Evoker's the same. They can literally just spec Devastation if Aug was bad or something. We're not specializing spec for anything else. Okay, what's next, guys? We haven't added any healers and tanks yet. Are there any more obvious DPS buffs? Right, so Warrior could be a DPS or a tank. DH could be a DPS or a tank. Monk could be a DPS or a tank or a healer, right? Oh, interesting. Seeing DPS Monk, DPS Druid, Blood DK. Seeing a lot of Blood DK. A lot of Warrior DPS. Warrior. Okay, Chad is saying Warrior DPS and DH DPS. Okay, so you're immediately saying most likely no Prot Warrior, no Vengeance DH then. Is that correct, chat? I mean, this is kind of a historical... This has historically been accurate, so it's not the worst guess. All right, so now we have a decent amount of the raid buffs already done. Let's actually just remove raid buffs that we already have. Right? Yeah, that's easy. So let's just say raid buffs we don't have. That'd probably be an easy way to put that. Okay, so we can remove DH, Rogue, Warrior, Hunter, Evoker, Warlock, Mage. Even though Evokers are a little different, but... All right, what's next, chat? What is next? Where's the next spot? So let's make sure we get all of our raid buffs first before we add in some other stuff. So we got to get one of these. People are saying DPS Monk. Okay. Holy Paladin. I'm seeing a lot of Holy Paladin. Chat, are you guys happy with Holy Paladin? Seeing a lot of people happy with Holy Paladin. Okay. All right, Holy Paladin's in. What next? Seeing a lot of Resto Shaman. Seeing a lot of Blood DK. Okay. I'm seeing by far the most Blood DK. Okay, so let's add Blood DK. It's weird that DK is like a... I have DK as a raid buff. I mean, it's like pretty true. Like, are you gonna need grips on? It's weird. If you're gonna need grips on Ansurek. Okay, I have a question, chat. If you need grips on Ansurek, what phase is it in? It's in P2. Okay, describe P2 to me. Is the raid together? Are they separate? It's a split raid P2. Okay, so I mean, if you're saying you need grips, which is Blood DK's raid buff, aren't you saying you need 2 grips? Talk about need here. Or do you guys think you don't need grips? You just think Blood DK is really good? Blood DK is just really good. You don't need 2 grips. You just want... Okay. I mean, we can come back to this later. You don't have to say the second DK is what you choose now. It can be something you add after you have the rest of the raid buffs. I'm asking the questions you guys should be asking yourself. You could also ask the same question, right? If P2 is really hard on the last boss, which is what you make your comp for, would you maybe want 2 Demon Hunters, right? Like 2 Chaos Brands? Or is that way less important now that they've nerfed Chaos Brand? You know, stuff like that. Like how good is Havoc? Interesting stuff. Okay, so what is the next decision you all make? We already have Paladin. We need to find a way to get the Monk buff. How are you guys feeling about the Monk buff right now? Are you guys feeling Brew? Are you feeling DPS Monk? It kind of locks in your tank comp forever if you hit Brew right now. Actually, I'm seeing a lot of people say Disc Priest. Oh, Mistweaver. Okay, let's figure this out. We got to do a poll. So for now, we're adding Priest. So I'll just add the 3 Priest specs. Where do you guys think, how do you get your fort buff? Okay, 90% are saying Disc. Okay, so we're adding Disc. Historically, that's been true. When was the last tier you didn't run 1 Healer Priest and 1 Holy Paladin? I want to look that up later. I think it's been a very, very, very long time. Okay, so we need a few more things, guys. We have a Priest buff now. It's about to get really interesting, by the way. And you guys are about to... We've gone through most of the somewhat easy stuff, I guess. Blood Decay is an interesting choice that you chose to immediately throw that as tank, for sure. That's definitely the craziest thing you guys have done so far. From like a raid comp maker POV, instantly being that committed to a tank is fucking psycho, but you guys are really happy with it, so we'll keep it there. Let's see... We don't miss. I fucking respect that. Shaman. All right, so Shaman is next, guys. Where's the Shaman? Type what spec of Shaman you want. Keep in mind, this is the first, like, required raid spec you need. So you guys are that sold on Resto. So even in a scenario where LAN Enhance could be good and could be played, in which you wouldn't need the buff, you're saying you think Resto Shaman, you want to lock in your third healer, and you are sure that the healing comp for this tier includes these 3 specs. Again, that's crazy, but let's fucking send it. You guys don't miss. You get it right. Pull it. I mean, okay, I'll pull it. I'll pull it. All right, you, again, process of elimination, right? Like, you have to get your shaman buff somewhere. What's the best shaman buff, do you think? I'll delete this just until you guys finish voting on it. Okay, pretty close between Resto and Enhance from chat. Ooh, Enhance is actually pulling ahead now, which may mean you guys want one of each, right? But, again, you wouldn't do that now. That's not how you would do this. Votes over soon. It's really fucking close. Resto Shaman, Resto Stam buff, though. Yeah, I want to bring that up, just in case you guys didn't know this. So, Resto Shamans kind of have, like, an extra raid buff. They have a really easy talent point to get called Ancestral Vigor, and it gives anyone who's gotten hit by Riptide, I think Healing Wave, Healing Surge, and Chain Heal, a 10% health increase. And with at least the Totemic hero talent, you have almost 100% uptime on everyone in the raid in that, and that's twice as good as Powered Fortitude. So Resto Shaman has won by 1 vote. We must respect the vote. This is the word of the people. We will have more raid spots to add things later, but we have now gotten the Shaman raid buff. Okay, we have 2 more, guys. We'll start with Druid. All right, guys. What Druid spec is the one where we are going to get our Mark of the Wild? Feral Guardian, Resto Druid, or Moonkin. Keep in mind, we will update this if any tuning happens, but this is just for right now. Interesting. The vast majority of people think it's fucking Guardian Druid. That's insane. Holy shit. Okay, that's fucking crazy. When was the last time you ran a Guardian Druid in raid? Ideally. Like, what tier? What has it been? And was it Legion? No, I think it was, well, so it was the end of WoD. It was Nighthold. It was Tomb of Sargeras. Has it been since then? Aberrus? No. We didn't play it in Aberrus. Wasn't there one time in BFA? You didn't play it in Uldir. You didn't play it in, Battle of Dazar'alor. You didn't play it in Eternal Palace, and you didn't play it in Nightloth, no. Okay, all right, chat wants to lock up the tank comp and put Guardian Druid in there. All right. Holy shit. That is a first time. There was a first time last year, though. Feral Druid was brought in a Mirdrasil. Feral Druid was brought in a Mirdrasil, and that was the first time, and people would have called you crazy for saying that before this year, but that was the first time Feral Druid was used in the Raced World first in 10 years last year. So it can always happen. All right, chat's on a fucking spicy one. Let's go. Fucking Guardian, baby. All right, we need a monk buff, chat, which at this point, you have now, because you made the Guardian selection, you can no longer say Brewmaster, so you have to choose between Mistweaver and Windwalker. Let's do a poll. Actually, I'll give you a Brewmaster option, and it's basically just people saying that they actually think Guardian was wrong. It's fair. I mean, you'd have to go back on what you just said. Alright, where's your first monk you want? Damn, so it looks like Windwalker is gonna win, but it looks like a decent amount of the chat thinks that you all goofed. I mean, you guys have to come to a collective decision, man. The goof is blood, and now you guys are seeing why potentially picking a tank that early and very confidently saying Blood Decay when you don't know if you need grips was interesting, because you actually could have... See, this is a nice learning exercise, because you guys are going to learn how making a comp actually works, right? You were so confident about Blood Decay, but what happens if you actually think Frost Decay is going to be good for the last boss? Then now you have a Blood Decay for seemingly no reason, right? And you couldn't have brought a raid buff from your tank, potentially. Like, when you're asking yourself Blood versus Brewmaster, Blood versus Guardian, Guardian versus Brewmaster, Are you asking yourself which tank is better? Yes, in a way, but you're kind of also asking which DPS option would be worse that we would have to bring, right? So just this is why this is a fun exercise for you guys. All right. We have Windwalker Monk as DPS. That is what you guys picked. All right, now this gets fun. All right, guys. We have a 4th healer spot. And we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 free DPS spots. What is the next thing you guys do? Well, a lot of Prez Evokers from chat. A lot of Prez Evoker chat enjoyers. It looks like... Oh, yeah, there's a ton of Prez... Okay, so Prez Evoker. Okay. So now our healer comp is locked in. It's like a rainbow comp. You're not running 2 of everything. That's really interesting. Historically, healer comps are... They do look like this, but I do find it fascinating that there are not more healer comps historically that have like a couple of healers that fill a specific role. Like famously, Holy Paladin has always been like the spot healer role. That's actually not been true in recent tuning. And then Disc Priest has been the like ramp class, also not true recently. Like Preservation has ramp, other Resto Druids have had ramp recently, right? And then you have like 2 of whatever the strongest HPS healer is. That's like a good way to make a healer comp. It's like you need some spot healing, you need like a ramp class, and then you just want total HPS. I don't even care if it's actually pulsing AoE healing and it's never targeted, whatever. We just want max HPS, right? So I think raid buffs are the reason that these usually look this way. And maybe just things always historically being like that. But I do find it interesting. I think most healer comps probably should be 2 of best thing and then 2 of the others, but you guys chose to go the other way. I mean, that's not always how it works out. It's just like that kind of makes the most sense. You need a lock. Well, we need another lock. All right, so where do you guys want to go after this? So you guys have locked in the tank. The tank comp looks fucking crazy. I don't think this has ever happened, by the way. I don't think Blood Decay Guardian has ever once happened in the history of WoW. That has never been a tank comp you play. Guys, you guys are saying 6 of something. That's not... We're picking 1 class at a time because that's how you would actually do this. All right, I'm seeing a lot of 2nd Aug and 2nd Mage. Which one do you guys want to do first? There's kind of an obvious answer to this because if 1 Aug is good, then... If you've already said you think 1 Aug is good, then the answer is Aug, right? Because you get the exact same value up till 2. So, okay, let's add a 2nd Aug. Someone in chat said trade Guardian for Prop Paladin and Slam a Moonkin. There's a lot going on there. I have questions about that, but I'm going to ignore that you said that for now. Just for the sake of everyone else in chat. Ban him. Add 4 more Augs. 2nd Mage. Is that what you guys want to do right now? Before anything else, you guys want to add 2nd Mage. All right, chat. Chat looks like they want Frost DK or 2nd Mage. Are you guys okay with both of these? Frost DK and 2nd Mage. Okay. All right, we have 3 spots left of the entire raid. What are some specs and classes that are missing? We don't have either DPS specs of Druid. We don't have a Shadow Priest. We don't have an Enhance or Ellie Shaman. We don't have, like, you know, any extra DHs or Rogues that's happened recently. What do you guys think? What are we running here? Feral and Shadow? Enhance? I'm seeing a lot of Enhance enjoyers. Enhancement. Elemental Shaman. All right, I'll let you guys vote. You guys are saying DPS Shaman a lot. I'm just going to have you pull between which one you want. Okay, Enhance is dunking. All right. Enhance it is. Let's go over some things. You only have 1 rally right now. Movement speed increases. You have 1 roar and 2 wind rush totems, plus 2 or 3 time spirals, depending on how many spatial paradoxes you want. You have a rogue that's able to bring a trophic poison, but not the attack speed reduction. You do have the ability to have the attack speed reduction by DK. 1 warlock could do it. It'd be kind of annoying. Don't need rally with Resto Shaman. That's not how... You don't have to choose between... Actually, they scale off each other. So if you had a Resto Shaman, it would actually make Rally better. Rally becomes instantly better with Resto Shaman existing. They're not competing at all. Seeing a lot of Shadow Priest and Ret Paladin enjoyers. Seeing a lot of 2nd Warlock enjoyers. Oh man, okay, so we gotta, let me see if I can get the 2nd, okay, this is gonna be a hard poll to do. All right, so do you guys want 2nd? Okay. Let's try to get this right. So 2nd Lock. What else are you guys typing here? 2nd Lock, 2nd Monk, 2nd DK, Frost, DK, 3rd Mage. Waiting for another person in chat. Or we can do Ret Paladin. Actually, I'll remove... Well, I can't remove anything there. We'll just do this for now. We can add Priest after, potentially. All right, there's the poll. 1 PI is a joke. Okay, so chat is not happy about 2nd Frost, DK, or Monk. 2nd Lock is winning by a wide margin. Okay, 2nd Lock. We have officially 1 more spot left in the chat Race to World First comp. Right now, this is looking very similar to a few raids I can think. Like, 2 Warlocks isn't uncommon, 2 Mages isn't uncommon, 2 Evokers is like, that's just been the case since AUG has been released. Actually, that's been the case since Season 2 of last expansion, right? Even, like, before they were released, you ran 2 devs. Right now, let's look at our comp. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 melee. We have 7 melee, including the healers, so not an even number. Sometimes that doesn't matter, but sometimes it does. Think on a fight like Silken Court, right? The second to last boss, you split your raid half and half. Maybe you do want an even amount. You never know. You guys have one more spot. I'm trying to see what you guys want. So let's do a poll. I'm going to just type what you guys want in the last slot. So I see a lot of Shadow Priest. Let's say third mage. Trying to read chat. Feral. Okay, I'm confused. I actually see a lot of people saying feral right now. But is the feral going to be removing guardian? Would you guys run guardian druid even if you had a feral? I assume when you say feral, it means remove guardian and you guys get another spot to pick. You know what? Let's save that till after. Let's save that till after if you guys want to. I'll give you guys a chance. If you guys can all band together, I'll give you a chance to remove or change something if you want to. All right, so I'm seeing a lot of third mage, seeing a lot of shadow priest. Okay, seeing second rogue for crippling poison. Okay, I'll add second rogue. See Ret Pally enjoyers. We'll add Ret Pally and second hunter. All right, polls up. Wow, shadow priest is dominating. That's crazy. When was the last time you played a Shadow Priest in the raid? That's another question. Shadow Priest. It's been last expansion, right? Aberrus? Did we run one in Aberrus? I don't think so. We did? Wait.
Watch the thing.
Wait, I think we do. Insane raid that you made me there. Watch the thing. Yeah, Kingfly's on Priest, you're right. All right, wow, Shadow Priest. Interesting. Only 2 PIs. You need 2 PIs. Okay, yeah, so fuck it. Fuck it, chat. Let's get it. All right, so now that you guys have your chat list, this is the chat list. Is there anything you guys would like to change? What do you guys hate about this? What do you guys think? Okay, we were wrong earlier, but now we're right. Someone in chat says remove both tanks. Get rid of Guardian. Blood Decay is wrong. All right, let's just, how about this? I'll give you guys a choice. I'm gonna do a poll. The poll is, do we do? And I'll give you an option. You can vote to keep the tanks you've selected, or we can reselect tanks. You have 2 choices. I'll delete both of them, and we can just select them both again. All right, it looks like chat overwhelmingly has decided to reselect both of the tanks. Okay, interesting. Which is why I told you guys when you were... when you guys were picking tanks that early, I was warning you that that is not the correct order in which you should be doing that. You should pretty much... this is a lesson you guys can learn from this. When you're picking a comp, always pick your tanks after your melee. Picking your tanks before your melee is psychotic. It makes no sense. And you guys, not saying you were right or wrong in your choices of any of this. It's just that clearly your mind changed after you did your melee. And it's very simply because you just chose to do one before the other. You learned something today. All right. So we're starting with tanks again. What is the tank you guys would like to add? I will pull all the tanks. You can choose one. Okay. What tank? I will put Brew. I'll put Blood Decay, I'll put Guardian, I'll put Vengeance, and I will put, there's like multiple other tanks, but I'm just going to leave out Prot Paladin because I haven't seen a single person type Prot Paladin yet, so I'm just going to put Prot Warrior instead. All right, pulls out. What is the first tank you guys would like to add? Okay, I'm seeing, wow, Brewmaster and Prot Warrior are both really, really fucking close. Okay. Looks like Brewmaster is going to win pretty handily. Okay, so chat wants to add a Brewmaster. All right, now that you guys have added a Brewmaster, we will ask the question of the second tank. But before we do that, I want to ask you, do you guys want to add Brewmaster and leave it at that? Or would you like to add Brewmaster, but now that you've done that, would you want to remove Windwalker and pick another class? I'm going to do that poll right now. After this poll ends, I will do that. All right, I'm seeing a lot of people type feral, so I'm going to try to save one poll here just in case it's actually what you guys want. So you can actually say no to this. It's fine. But the question will be, what do? And the response will be, keep Brew, remove Windwalker. The second option will be do nothing. The third option will be keep Brew, replace Windwalker with feral. And the other one will be actually... the do nothing and replace Windwalker with feral, or replace Windwalker with chat vote. You guys can say replace Windwalker with chat vote. if you just want to actually vote it out instead of literally do feral. A lot of you guys are typing feral, and there is a need for a druid buff right now. So I just want to potentially save a vote if that's what you guys want to do. Okay, so it seems like 60% of you are in favor of specifically removing Windwalker Monk for feral druid. Okay. And the good news is, you guys actually get a little bit of a pass. We don't have to say it's a feral druid because any good player that's playing feral or Moonkin in your raid can play the other one. The only thing you have to get is like a weapon and trinkets, so you can actually cover both, the same as any other spec. You can also say the same about Enhanced Shaman. So we'll just put Druid there. So in the case where the balance changes and for whatever reason you want the other spec of DPS Druid, this counts, right? Or should that count? Actually, fuck it. I'll make it harder on you guys. You want Feral. And also, could we agree that a DK player covering Frost and Unholy is not the same as a DPS player covering Enhance and Ellie? Or a Hunter player covering Survival and BM? Like, the melee to ranged swap is way fucking different than playing two specs of the same role, I think. Okay, so, chat. Now we have removed Windwalker and added Brewmaster, which again, everyone in chat at least type that you have learned the lesson. You can say this by saying amen, and that is that you are now repentant and you understand that when you're making raid comps, you always select melee before tanks. And you can use this session today as a exact example as to why you don't do that. A lot of amens. All right. Thank you. Everyone, at the very least, whether you got this right or wrong, you at least learned something today. Tanks first always. Oops, spotted the tank player. Very weird. Okay. We have one more spot. We can make some other alterations, but you guys do have to vote for your second to last tank here. So, what tank? I'll put Prop Paladin in there because I think I can remove Guardian because you guys chose to... I mean, maybe you want a Guardian. I mean, why would you choose to... Yeah, okay, never mind. Yeah, I'll just do all of them a Guardian. Bloody K, Prot Warrior, Prot Pal, Spell Warding Angle. What are the other two? The fuck am I... I'm blanking. Second Brewmaster, I suppose? Or, Vengeance. There we go. Looks like Bloody K is going to win. Prot Warrior is second. So, I have a question, chat. If you guys really wanted Brewmaster there, I guess you wanted it to be your buff, but if you really thought Brewmaster was that good, why wouldn't you run two of them? Right? Just for the sake of argument. I just want to hear what you think. Only need one buff? It's a waste, okay. Because Windwalker is beans everywhere else, okay. Want different utility toolkit. Okay. I wonder if I gaslit you guys earlier when I said there would be two sides in P2, and if you ever needed grips, it would be because of P. I definitely gaslit you, I think. Because, like, I mean, it is true. You would only ever need grips on Ansurek and P2, I think, right? Unless they change something. And if that's true, you would need them on both sides. They're most likely identical or very similar sides. So if you needed one on one, you need it on the other. And if you didn't need them at all, you wouldn't need any DKs, right? So it's either like on that fight, you would either bring 2 or 0, unless one of the specs was randomly overperforming and you brought it just for damage or its tankiness or something. Okay, so Blood DK. All right, chat. Take a second to review your comp. Is there anything here that gives you the heebie-jeebies? You will have a chance to update this when they do new tuning. But is this what you guys like? Is this that good shit? What do you guys not like? Get rid of one evoker. Swap enhance for Ellie. Balance better than feral. Go second warrior. Go second warrior. All right, I don't see a lot of one thing. I think the thing I see the most of is that people are not happy with the priest pick and people aren't happy with the second warlock pick. So I'll just, I guess, I don't know how I do this. I'll just do 2 individual pulls. So warlock, second warlock, or repick spec. Are you guys happy with second warlock, or do you guys want to reselect? Okay, it looks like the vast majority of you want to repick. My question is, why did you guys pick second warlock so early if you want to repick it now? Is it just that you needed to see the whole comp, like, form for you to see it, or we didn't? Well, I mean, you did. We didn't pull that. It was the vast majority of selection. When I picked second lock, it was being said before, like, almost everything after second mage. It was, like, instantly that. Okay, so second warlock is removed. All right, now you guys have to pick this spec. So now we are back to 1 warlock. What do you guys want instead of the warlock? Let's see. I'll do a poll. I just need to see what you guys type, though. So I'm seeing second warrior. I'm seeing Windwalker monk. I'm seeing third mage. I'm seeing second rogue. And I'm seeing ret. Those I think are the most. Let me look at it for a few more seconds. Yeah, that's the most. Okay, cool. Sending it. 1 minute. What do you guys want? What's the new class? Ooh, it's very, very fucking close, actually. Holy shit. It is so close. I mean, to be fair, this one should be close, right? Like you're picking the 20th raid spot. I can tell you from experience, even when you are using the narrowest of margins at the very highest level, it is a very hard decision. Like, there's reasons you could bring pretty much anything. And also, a lot of you guys are going to be upset with whatever wins this poll, because no matter what, 70% of you are going to be mad because the winner is going to have right around 30%. Which is kind of the point. You have to come to a conclusion, right? All right, second rogue has barely beat out third mage. And as I'm expecting, 70% of you will be mad because the thing you chose was not 29% of what you guys picked. So, all right, second rogue. Wait, what is it? Re-poll between the top three? I mean, it won the poll. Okay, we'll redo it. I mean, why not? We have all the time in the world. I'll make sure you guys get exactly what you want. Second rogue, third mage, and second warrior won by a lot. So let's see that. Second rogue, third mage, and what was the other one? Second warrior? It wasn't Windwalker Monk, and it wasn't Rhett. It was second warrior, I think. Yeah, okay. I'm doing it. It's up right now. Holy fuck, it's close. Oh my god, it's close. Then you're splitting the melee vote? I don't think that matters. It would make it symmetrical, right? How many melee do you have? You have one healer melee, and then 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. You would have exactly 8 melee characters. Not to say you need that, but I think having a symmetrical amount of melee makes sense. So picking melee here isn't stupid. Bro, how is it not a third mage, chat? Well, I mean, if I'm gonna guess, it's because a lot of you guys are picking historically. Right? This is a very historic looking raid comp. Like, this is pretty similar to what you run like all the fucking time. I think, I don't, like, if you think about it, running 3 of a spec in current raid tuning is like really hard to do. Like, when have you done that? Since there's been this many raid buffs, right? Since Dragonflight, when have you run 3 of a spec? Have you? Since you've had 15 raid buffs? Like, Rogue was fucking insane last year. Could you have run 3 on the last boss? Yeah, but like you didn't. That even goes to show like how hard it is to actually like how much better. Here's the reality. How much better a class would have to be than the next best spec in the game to confidently run 3 of them and not want a different profile is very, very hard to do. Like, for example, even in cases where there has been an objective best class in the game, it can hurt you if they have too distinct of a profile. Perfect example, Fire Mage, Eternal Palace, right? Fire Mages absolutely own an Eternal Palace, but it sucked having 4 of them for us because in P2, they would all use their combust on the first ad, and while it did let us like kill it really fast, we didn't have enough damage for the other 2, and it would have been better to swap one of them with like a do the damage all the time class like a Shadow Priest. We just didn't do that. Warrior won. All right, fuck it. 2 DPS warriors. All right, this is chat's official. I mean, this is so funny. If I keep saying what you guys want to change, you guys are just going to keep replacing the last DPS spot because it's so obviously split between all of you. But that is pretty indicative of how actual decisions like that are made, because really the last raid spot is really fucking close. A lot of the time it comes down to like, who are the players in your guild? Who would be the best player you could add to your roster kind of thing. I think this is it. I mean, we could remove something, but I mean, every time we're just going to be removing stuff, adding it back, you know? Why would you bring Windwalker or Ret Pally, chat? Okay, I actually know the answer to this. Well, I mean, I'm not saying like regardless of tuning, but like there is actually a reason you would bring both Windwalker and Ret Pally to a comp like this based on the fight. Do you guys know what it is? Why would you bring either one of those classes? It's a little different between the 2 of them, but it's actually the main difference is really the same. This many melee is bad for mechanics. That's objectively not true. Hasn't been true since Old Year. I won't. No, it's when it was like the beginning of Shadow. I want to say since Castle Nathria. Saying like you can't bring this many melee has been objectively not true. They've made raids very melee friendly since then. They even spoke about it in an interview. Immunity. Okay, a lot of you are actually getting it right. So as opposed to a lot of classes in this raid comp, something that some classes do this, like Enhanced does this, but like both Ret Paladin and Monk have really different and also like malleable cooldowns. So Red Paladin just has a lot of damage kind of all the time, but especially every 30 seconds. This is something that can be really good for like ad waves and P2 on Ansurek potentially. Like, do you guys remember Sylvanas Mythic? How like certain classes were really good at P2 and others were bad? Like most classes in the game could CD platforms 1 and 3. So because of that, you weren't really interesting and you weren't a good class if you could do that because everyone else was doing it. You didn't need help on 1 and 3. And if you were another class, just using them on 2 would be a waste. So like you needed a class like Unholy that had like Dark Transformation every single boss burn and every single platform. That was super value. Windwalkers had the ability to move their cooldowns around in progression to like fix what the group needed, and that changes depending on your raid group. That's something that Windwalker and Rhett can both do really well. Rhett doesn't do that as well as Windwalker, but Rhett has like really, really strong externals. So like adding a sack from a Rhett Paladin, a famously unkillably strong DPS spec, can be insanely good on a fight with really hard-hitting targeted dots, or like really gibby lethal like single target things on people, like Razageth, getting the mechanic in P1 Razageth where he had to move out. Like, dude, having extra sacks for that is so fucking insane. Bops for specific fights with physical bleeds and stuns and stuff like that is really good. So like, I'm just trying to throw some things out there as like why people are saying you would want a Red or a Windwalker. It's totally fight dependent, but like certain classes do that way better than others. Chat is saying, or one person chat is saying, we want Holy Priest. It has OP CDs over Prez Evoker. Is that true, chat? Do we want... Okay, I'm pulling that. Healers. I think the only one that's up for debate is Prez. So remove Prez, repick, or keep Prez. Polls out. All right. A vast majority of people are saying keep Prez. All right. Chat gets what it wants. So what's your healer comp, guys? How does your healing comp work? Remember how I before told you you needed like a spot healer, you needed like a ramp healer kinda, and then you just needed like total HPS? So who's your spot healer in this comp, chat? Paladin. That's been true historically. Is it true now? Yes? All right, cool. So you guys think Paladin's your spot healer. Who's your ramp healer? This is actually a chat IQ test. Got it. Disc and Prez. Okay, so you guys got that right. So Disc and Prez both... There's different playstyles for Prez, but definitely like majorly overwhelmed by the style of ramp. So then if you don't have... So if you have two ramp classes, one spot heal, that's worked before. That's what you did in Vault of the Incarnates. That's what you did in Last Raid of Last Expansion. That's what you did in Sanctum. You ended up running... Oh, dude, remember Sanctum, actually? Sanctum was one of the weirdest healing comps ever. It was 2 Ashen Hollow Holy Paladins and 2 Disc Priests. So your gameplay was actually balancing 4 ramps. You just had like you had like Kyrian Disc ramps and Ashen Hollow soloing raid healing at different times. But that was like the weirdest healing tier ever. And you guys think Shaman's your raw HPS healer? Yeah, you could look at that a few different ways, right? Because like if you actually didn't feel that Shaman was the high HPS healer, you could argue that it's there for Vigor. It's not really there for a raid buff because you guys seem pretty happy with Enhance. But it's interesting if you guys, how you feel about Disc. You've put Disc there historically, but because you added Disc before Shadow Priest, if you're actually sold on Shadow Priest, you actually maybe don't need a Disc. So because Disc and Preservation are both ramp classes, you have to ask yourself why you wouldn't run 2 Discs or 2 Preservation, right? Wouldn't you potentially run the best one of both of them twice? It's another way to look at it. I just want to ask you guys why you think you would do that. PI. You want PI. You want 2 PI. Okay, tell me why you want 2 PI. How powerful do you guys think PI is nowadays? Just make up a number. If you are PIing another class, how much percentage damage do you think you give to them over the course of a fight? Make that up. 5%? Interesting. So do you guys think 5% of a DPS's damage would swing things in regards to healer balance? As far as how much healer damage they do in between each other? The percentage damage is not relevant over the fight. It's the burst damage. Okay. The morale buff. Max, to be fair, what is the best spot healer at the moment? I would swap them for Disc. I don't know the answer to that question, unfortunately. Good try, though. What does ramp healer mean? It means a healer whose power is defined by their ability, either through one or multiple cooldowns, to solo heal a ridiculous amount of damage with just their cooldown. And there's like a lot of preparation and setup that goes in. Well, there's varying amounts of setup, actually. But it's like the ability to like do crazy healing, right? Like I would say a ramp healer's healing profile, just totally making this up, is this. It's like a ramp healer looks more like this. Like this is the timeline of the fight. Their healing's like very little, massive, very little, massive, very little, maybe like a little mini ramp, big massive thing, huge fucking spike. That's like what a ramp healer kind of looks like. And then a spot healer kind of, well, totally depends on the fight, but like it's just kind of more static. They have like a cooldown window, but it's like a little higher all the time, right? Something like that whenever they use their CDs. And then like the high HPS healer, there's been varying different versions of this, and they do have cooldowns, but they're just kind of just like, they're not up here. They're like all the time. They're like just here. And these things work well in conjunction with each other. You don't if you had a bunch of these, it would be hard to plan around, right? Like it was in Sanctum. So you want like some of those, you want some of these, you want one or two of these. It kind of depends on the raid. I would say healer balance is usually unique enough to a specific tier where sometimes you can convince yourself to run more or less of each one of those things, but, you know. Chat got the list wrong already. We 3 healing. That would be surprising. If you guys heal, you probably know this, but you are statistically much more likely to 5 heal as opposed to 3 heal in like an intro raid. 5 healing actually exists significantly more in the first raid of an expansion, and under healing exists significantly more later in the expansion. In fact, I think you can go back and look at other raids. I think like the first raid of every expansion is like majorly 5 healed actually. Usually it's like second reset when you start like 4 healing the last boss. This list is also why you have flex spots. Yeah, true. I mean, that's a really important question. So like the way that I look at our comp and progression is never this. It's like maybe 17 or 18 spots are like locked the fuck in, and then spots 19 and 20 are realistically like all the way up to usually like 23, maybe 24. It's never any more than that realistically based on tuning, but like that's like realistically how you look at it, because like classes just do different things like we talked about. But you guys don't get that option. You guys have to pick exactly 20 and fucking live with it. Is Enhanced really better than Ellie? That's what chat thinks. Does the Hunter's Mark make that much of a difference? Yeah. I mean, Hunter's Mark is weird because it's a raid buff where you can kind of just apply... You could just quickly look on logs and just apply the extra damage they're doing to their damage to see how much they're actually benefiting you. But it's pretty good, yeah. There's a lot of common misconceptions. People are like, well, if the damage that you do in the first... So here's what the Hunter raid buff is. Hunter's Mark makes your raid do 5% more damage for the first 20% of the boss's health. So from 100 to 80%, you would do 5% more damage as a raid. But there are some bosses where the damage you do in P1 doesn't translate to the damage in like P3 or like the end of the fight, right? So like some famous fights like that are like Castle Nathri, like Denathrius or Razageth. But I think what a lot of people are missing is, I don't think that means that Hunter's Mark is bad on those fights. It's certainly possible that Hunter is ever tuned so low that even when you add basically 1% of the raid's DPS to their number, that it's still not good enough. It would have to be historically bad for that to be true. In fact, I don't think Hunter's been tuned like that in the last 10 years. That raid buff would have made them relevant on a like Sludge Fist type fight forever. It's good enough, right? But even like I've heard people say Razageth. Like I think the fact that your damage in P1 does not generate any like positive difference to the enrage or like your damage in P3, but I still think it's important as fuck. Like, bro, if you had a Hunter's Mark on Razageth, could you imagine how hard P1 have been, which, by the way, was the hardest part of the fight, without an extra 5% extra damage? The amount of pushes we missed week 1 by just barely missing it and getting the 6th wins, oh my god, it would have been fucking insane. It would have been so fucking valuable. You would have been a lunatic to not bring a Hunter to that fight, right? If that raid buff had existed then. The only boss I can think of in the past 4 to 5 to 6 years is actually the relevant boss is Denathrius. I think Denathrius is the only boss where I don't think Hunter's Mark alone would have given them a raid spot, but in that tier, Hunters were already turbo fucking OP. You ran like 3 or 4 of them, so it wouldn't have mattered anyway, but ye. Sylvanas? Oh, you would have definitely brought him on Sylvanas. By that same logic, shouldn't Devastation's Mastery make it really good for progression? Yes, actually. If you getting out of P1 is by far the hardest thing and you have to make a P1 DPS check, think Razageth, think Blackhand, think like super important hard and rage P1s. They should, yeah. I mean, if Devastation is tuned well, then their Mastery should put them ahead. It totally depends on tuning, but I mean, you could make that argument. But if like P3 is the hardest part, you can make the opposite argument. And more often, P3s are actually what's holding you back, not P1s.